What it means to be a Christian in 2024 America. Being a Christian in America has always come with its challenges, but the 2024 political landscape has created a particular strain on what it means to live out one's faith in a country marked by division. At the center of this conversation is the Christian response to the political and moral issues surrounding the 2024 election, with figures like Donald Trump once again pushing for a return to power, this time championing a platform rooted in his Project 2025. Project 2025 and the rise of Christian nationalism. Trump's Project 2025, a conservative blueprint for reshaping America, seeks to implement policies that have stirred profound controversy, particularly around the issue of abortion. Under his proposal, states would no longer have the ability to make independent decisions about women's reproductive rights. Instead, a national ban on abortion would be enforced, with draconian punishments for those found to have violated these laws. The example of a woman facing 5 years in prison for aborting a child after a miscarriage, a situation where neighbors or family could report her to authorities, is a chilling reminder of the trajectory this legislation could take. For many, the moral question emerges: what kind of Christianity is at the root of such laws? How can a faith that claims to follow a gospel rooted in love, mercy, and compassion be used to justify a system that punishes women so harshly for deeply personal decisions regarding their health? The legacy of white Christian nationalism and the shadow of segregation. Organizations like the American Legislative Exchange Council, ALEC, the Koch brothers, and the Heritage Foundation have played pivotal roles in shaping conservative politics for years, including the erosion of women's health care rights. Many of these groups, which claim to be driven by Christian principles, have a long history of supporting policies that disproportionately harm Black, brown, LGBTQ+, and marginalized communities. What is concerning is how these ultra-wealthy Christian groups and individuals are not only advocating for policies that target the most vulnerable but are also attempting to reclaim a version of America that mirrors the racial and social divisions of the 1950s. Whether it is pushing Christian prayer back into public schools or supporting voter suppression laws reminiscent of segregation-era tactics, this brand of Christianity seems far removed from the teachings of Jesus. The weaponization of faith. Christian influencers like Candace Owens have only further fueled the fire. While claiming to uphold biblical truths, Owens has used her platform to demonize and attack transgender children, even going so far as to label them demons and Baphomets, invoking satanic imagery in the process. This kind of rhetoric is not only harmful but a gross distortion of Christian values. Her platform, once amplified by conservative media figure Ben Shapiro and the Daily Wire, allowed her to spread these harmful views to millions. While she was eventually dismissed for anti-Semitic statements, her impact on shaping Christian nationalism is undeniable. What's troubling about this version of Christianity is how it has turned into a tool for social and political control. Instead of reflecting the humility and love of Christ, it seems more concerned with preserving power and wealth, using faith as a shield to justify cruelty. The radical love of Christ. In stark contrast to this version of Christianity is the life and example of Jesus Christ himself. Jesus led with love and compassion, reaching out to the outcasts of society, the poor, the sick, the sinners, and those who had been shunned by religious leaders. His ministry was one of radical inclusion, mercy, and justice. Whether it was healing the sick, feeding the hungry, or showing mercy to the adulterous woman, Christ's example was one of grace. To claim the mantle of Christian while supporting policies that harm women, minorities, or the LGBTQ+ community runs counter to the core teachings of Jesus. His message was clear: love God, and love your neighbor as yourself. The Christian life is one of selflessness, of putting others' needs before your own, of loving your enemies and doing good to those who harm you. A Christianity of exclusion or inclusion. So, how do the Christians who support policies like Project 2025 or those who promote divisive rhetoric reconcile their faith with their actions? For many, their Christianity seems to be more about exclusion than inclusion. It focuses on drawing boundaries, who is in, who is out, rather than embracing the transformative power of grace. It is a faith that seeks to control, to impose rather than to invite. The rich, white, Christian organizations that have spent years crafting legislation that mirrors segregation seem to be pursuing an agenda of fear and division, not the love and unity that Christ taught. They may call for prayer in schools and the preservation of traditional values, but at the same time, they strip away the freedoms of those who do not fit their narrow definition of righteousness. The path forward for Christians in 2024. For Christians in 2024, the challenge is clear: to resist the temptation to use faith as a tool for power and instead to embrace it as a way of life marked by radical love and justice. This means standing against policies that harm women, LGBTQ+ people, and other marginalized groups. It means advocating for a faith that does not seek to punish, but to heal. It means remembering that every person, no matter their race, gender, or identity, is made in the image of God and deserves to be treated with dignity and respect. In the end, the question for Christians in America is this: will we be a people who lead with love and follow the example of Jesus? Or will we allow our faith to be co-opted by those seeking to preserve their own power at the expense of others? The future of Christianity in America may well depend on how we answer that question.